For today's math lesson, we are beginning Topic 3, Lesson 6. Continue to make 10 to add. Our learning intention today is I can make 10 to add numbers to 20. So we are going to begin on our Solve and Share in our Envisions workbook on page 129. Our Solve and Share begins on page 129. It says, how can you make 10 to solve the addition fact 8 plus 5? Show your work and explain. Now, if you remember a few lessons ago, in Topic 3, Lesson 2, we used number lines to help us add. Do you remember how we learned how to hop using number lines in our previous lesson? Well, we are going to be doing that again today. So for our Solve and Share, it did not come with a number line, so Mrs. Collier just went ahead and made one up really quick. So let's see, if we are working to solve 8 plus 5, but it wants us to make 10 to be able to solve it. So what we could do, and you don't have to write the number line, but what you can do is write our equations below. So 8 plus 5 is the same as saying 8 plus 2 plus 3. Because 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So these are the same problems. They just look a little bit different. So on my number line, if I were to begin at 8, because I am adding 8 and 5 together, so now I want to jump 5 spaces. But remember that 2 plus 3 is the same as 5. So what if I jumped 2 spaces? So I'm going to write plus 2. That would get me to 10. So on your paper, we could write 8 plus 2 equals 10. Because we just showed that on our number line. If we started at 8 and added 2, that would get us to 10. But remember, I'm adding 8 and 5, so I still need to add 3 more. So if I were to jump again, 1, 2, 3 spaces, so I added 3, that shows that 10 plus 3 is equal to 13. I landed on the 13. So, what we just saw is that 8 plus 5 is 13. So we would write on our paper that 8 plus 5 is equal to 13. So by breaking apart the 5 in 2 plus 3, we were able to make 10 and solve for 8 plus 5, which is 13. Now let's watch our video to go along with our lesson for today.
You can make 10 to help you add 9 plus 7. Which number in this addition equation is closer to 10?
Select your answer.
Which number is closer to 10, 7 or 9? Well, if we have 7 and we need to get to 10, that would mean we would need to add 3 more. But if we're at 9 and we need to get to 10, we would only have to add 1 more. So 9 is closer to 10.
Nine is closer to 10. How can that help you find 9 plus 7? Since 9 is only 1 away from 10, you can start adding by making a 10. You can use a number line to help you make 10. What number do you add to 9 to make 10? You add 1 to make 10, then add 6 more. Why do you add 6 to 10? You add 6 to 10 because 1 and 6 are parts of 7, and you have already added 1. What are two addition problems shown on the number line?
Select your answer.
So what are two addition problems shown on the number line? Let's look and see where our number line jump begins. We begin on 9 and add 1 to get 10. Then we jump from 10, add 6 to get to 16. So we begin with 9 plus 1 equals 10. Well, both of these tiles begin with 9 plus 1 equals 10. So let's see if the second equation is correct. Now we need 10 plus 6 equals 16. So which of these tiles shows 10 plus 6 equals 16? The middle one.
The two addition problems are 9 plus 1 equals 10, and 10 plus 6 equals 16. To make a 10 to add, you can think about 9 plus 7 as 9 plus 1 plus 6. How do you know that 9 plus 7 is equal to 9 plus 1 plus 6? You know they are equal because 7 is equal to 1 plus 6. So, what is 9 plus 1 plus 6? It is 16. So, 9 plus 7 equals how many? It is 16. Now you know how to use a number line to help you make 10 to add numbers.
Now let's complete our guided practice together on page 130 of our workbook. Our guided practice directions tell us to make 10, find the sum. Use the number line to help you. So let's look at number 1. Some of it is already completed for us. So we are solving for 8 plus 6. We do not know the answer yet, so let's see what it tells us so far. It wants us to think. So we are going to break the number 6 into two numbers. It looks like they chose to break the number 6 into 2 and 4 because we know that 2 plus 4 is equal to 6. So they show 8 plus 2 equals 10, and then 10 plus 4 is equal to 14. Let's see what this looks like on the number line. So if we begin at 8, so that is our starting number, and we have adding 6, but we broke it into two numbers. We broke it into a 2 and a 4. So 8 plus 2, so I'm going to jump 2 spaces, to 10. And now I need to add 4 more to 10. So I'm going to go from 10, jump 4 spaces. And that shows me I land on number 14. So this shows me that 8 plus 6 is equal to 14. So we made 10, found our sum, and used the number line to help. Let's see what our independent practice has in store for us now. So now let's look at our independent practice on page 131 of our workbooks. Thankfully, this time our workbook provided us with a number line. I know in some lessons we've had to make our own number line. So everyone say, woohoo, we have a number line. And our independent practice wants us to do the same thing we just did in our guided practice. It wants us to make 10 to find each sum. Use the number line to help you. So what Mrs. Collier would say is that since it only gave us one number line, write very lightly with your pencil when you are working so that you can erase it and reuse it to solve. So we are going to do number 2 together, then you are going to complete the rest of the problems to number 6 by yourself. So let's look at number 2. On number 2, we are working to solve 7 plus 8. So 7 plus 8 equals, well, we're not sure. So what two numbers can we use to break down 8? Well, one of the numbers has to be able to be added by 7 and give us 10. So 7 plus what number gives us 10? 7 plus 3 gives us 10. So we need to see 3 plus what number gives us 8? 3 plus 5 gives us 8. So all we've done so far is break the number 8 into two numbers. So it wants us to use 3 and 5. So let's use our number line. So let's go to the number 7 because we know that that is our starting point. So it shows that we had 7 plus 3. So we are going to jump 3 spaces, and that landed us on 10. Now we are doing 10 plus 5. So I'm going to move from 10. I'm going to jump 5 spaces, and that lands me on number 15. So we added 3 and added 5. So this is showing me that 7 plus 8 is equal to 15. So we are going to write 15 in the blank. So for the next problems, you will need to make 10 to find each sum. So if you need any help with those problems, you can look back on how we completed number 2, how we completed our guided practice, or our video. But first, you need to make 10. So in these two boxes, you are going to show two numbers that when they are added together equal 9. But one of those numbers has to be 4 plus blank equals 10. So once you figure out what number goes here, see how many more you need to make it 9. Just like how we did on number 2 when we had to use 3 plus 5 to make 8 because we had 7 plus blank equals 10. So we know our number had to be 3. So go ahead and pause the video so that you can continue working on these questions, and when you press the play button, we will begin talking about number 7. On number 7, it says John adds 8 plus 5. First, he adds 8 plus 2 to make 10. What should John do next? So what you can do for number 7 is just write the equation for what he would need to add to 10 to find 8 plus 5. So Mrs. Collier will help you start this off. So we could write 8 plus 5 equals, we're not sure yet, so we can write question mark. So we will write 8 plus 2 equals 10, because it told us that John made 10. Well, remember that we are adding by 5. So if I have already added by 2, I need to add how many more times to equal 5? So 2 plus what number equals 5? 2 plus 3 equals 5. So what we did, we wrote 8 plus 5 equals blank. Then we broke our number 5 into two numbers. We broke it into 2 and 3 because we know 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So first we made 10. So we solved for 8 plus 2 equals 10. And then we added together 10 plus 3 to give us what number? So I want you to write that number to show your work. So we wrote this problem together. So now I want you to add together 10 plus 3 and write that number here. For the last page of our workbook in our lesson today, we are working on page 132. On number 8, it tells us to look for patterns. Conrad has 8 apples. Sam gives him 4 more. How many apples does Conrad have now? Use the open number line to show your work. Now, if you remember, on an open number line, we do not have to write every single number. We can just write the numbers that we are working with. So Mrs. Collier will set up your number line for you, then I want you to solve. So on our open number line, we are going to write 8 because that is our starting point. And we know that we are adding 4 more. So I am going to write 8. Our line over here, but I'm not going to write what this number is because I want you to find it out. So I'm going to jump down to our mark that we made and write that we jumped 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we began at 8 and we jump 4 spaces, how many apples do we have now? So 8 plus 4. What is 8 plus 4? You are going to write that number in the blank below. So we are solving for 8 plus 4, and we're going to write that number in the blank. On number 9, it says Pat makes 10 to solve 7 plus 5 by changing the problem to 7 plus 3 plus 2. How does Pat make 10? So what I want you to do for number 9 is just write one equation for me to show what two numbers Pat would have to add together to make 10. So I know that we know that 7 plus 5 is the same as 7 plus 3 plus 2, because 3 plus 2 is also equal to 5. So these are the same equations. This one just has a broken down 5. So if Pat is going to make 10 by changing the problem to 7 plus 3 plus 2, what two numbers from this equation would Pat add together to make 10? Would Pat add together 7 plus 3 to make 10? 7 plus 2 to make 10? 3 plus 2 to make 10? I want you to write the equation that Pat would have to use to make 10. So you are going to write your add-in plus your other add-in equals 10, because we are going to make 10. So what two numbers from this equation that we circled would you add together to make 10? And on problem 10, it says, which shows how to make 10 to add 9 plus 6. So, in which of these equations in our answer choices could we make 10 to add 9 plus 6? So we are going to be looking at the first two numbers in our equation. Does 9 plus 4 equal 10? Does 9 plus 3 equal 10? Does 9 plus 1 equal 10? Or does 9 plus 0 equal 10? We want to find the equation that will make 10 so that we can add the remaining numbers. So which of these problems show the first two numbers that will equal 10? 9 plus 4, 9 plus 3, 9 plus 1, or 9 plus 0. You will circle or fill in your answer choice, and then you are all done with your math lesson for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you need to rewind the video at any point to review our video or our guided practice, please go ahead and do so.